Hey y'all. Oh my gosh, it's 6 after. I was having some issues today with getting everything started, but I am here, okay? I am really excited to be chatting today about nutrition, the things that I'm learning, all of that. I'm going to give y'all a second to join. I'm sure I will have some people on today, so I'm going to give y'all a second to get on here with me on the live, and we will get started very soon. But as I mentioned, or if you did not see my post, I'm going to be talking and answering some frequently asked nutrition questions that I get, and I'm sure that many other nutritionists get all the time. So I'm really just excited to kind of be able to tell you all more, as I've mentioned, about the things that I've learned. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Victoria Staton, and I'm fixing my fizz really quick, which is my plant-based caffeine energy stick from Arbonne, for those that might ask me. But yes, if you want some more information on that, let me know. But yeah, just to kind of tell you who I am, I'm Victoria Staton, previously known as the Fit Event Lady, because I own an event planning and design company. I'm a fitness instructor. I teach Zumba. Zumba's my forte, my favorite thing to teach. I'm also a student again. I never thought that I would be back in school, but I am going to a natural health school and pursuing a double diploma where I will ultimately become a master herbalist and traditional doctor of naturopathy or naturopathic doctor. And then I will continue on and get a board certification as a nutritionist. But other than that, I'm a wife, I'm a dog mom. I have a little like 9-month-old Yorkie, and I do philanthropic work as well as real estate investing with my husband. So that is all that I do. But I want to go ahead and get started. So, of course, if you have any questions, for those that will watch the replay, of course, feel free to send me a message. Or if you just want to ask me a question live, you're more than welcome to, of course. But I do want to say a quick disclaimer. So, no, I am not your doctor. I'm not a doctor yet anyways. So please do not take any advice and act on it unless you consult with your personal physician. I don't want to put you in any harm's way. Of course, I don't know all of the details. So in that same vein, I do get a lot of people that ask me nutrition questions and ask me for help. So I will be taking on some clients, and I'm actually not going to be charging these clients anything. This is just for me to build my portfolio. So if you are of interest at all in getting help with your nutrition, maybe you have some skin related issues, brain fog, maybe you have some inflammation, or maybe you just have some other health concern, I would love to chat with you. Of course, I will start the onboarding process if this is a good fit, because ultimately I need to make sure that my clients are ready for change, because you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, right? So let me know if you have any interest at all. I will put a little link in this video once it's posted to let you all, inquire about that. So let's get into these questions, because I kind of have a lot, but I wanted to answer as many of them as I could. So the first, what is food addiction? By definition, is a compulsive or uncontrollable urge to eat food that does not relate to feelings of hunger. And maybe that behavior is occurring as a response to some type of emotion. So maybe due to stress, sadness, or anger. Okay, is food addiction a difficult addiction to break? And is there a psychological or a biological cause for food addiction? And in short, yes. Well, yes, it is. So like for me, in my own personal experience, I honestly believe that I was a food addict. I think I was a fast food addict. And, if food is created in a petri dish, of course it's going to be a lot more addictive than, the foods that we're going to get on the outside of the aisles in the grocery store, like the fresh kale, the fresh salad, and fresh vegetables and those things. Food can definitely be addictive, and it can be very fulfilling if you are craving some type of fried food or some type of fast food. As I mentioned, it's created literally by scientists to be addictive on purpose. So you're not crazy if you are facing some type of food addiction. just know that it is possible to break, but it takes time, and you have to be willing to commit to the process. And I believe there are totally psychological and biological causes for food addiction. Maybe you have a family history of food addiction. Maybe you have a family history of obesity in your family, or maybe you just come from certain regions in the U.S. where certain types of foods are more accessible and more popular. Like in the South, they're known for the sweet tea and the fried chicken and the soul food and all these things. Well, those foods can definitely be addictive, but there is a way out. All right, the next question: Are there common types? Are there common areas of body gain in men and women's bodies as they age? And this question, honestly, is pretty complex because, um, yes, people do gain weight in certain areas, but it's not determined by your age or by your gender. Um, what I like to refer people to are the soma types or body types that we know of, which identify the areas that you are more likely to gain weight, or maybe you notice that you retain a lot. Like when you pick up weight, you gain it in your stomach area, or you gain it in your legs or your butt or your chest, male or female. It doesn't really matter. And I just kind of briefly wanted to talk about the three most common body types. And of course, there are body types where it's kind of like a fusion of more than one. Like, so for me, for example, I am more than one body type. I'm a fusion of more than one. And that is very common as well. So the top three are mesomorph, ectomorph, and endomorph. And I just kind of wanted to go in and explain these different types of these various body types because, as I mentioned, your age doesn't necessarily determine your body type, and your areas where you gain or lose weight doesn't necessarily. Well, your age is not dependent upon where you gain or lose weight because, of course, as we get older, and I think I'm going to get to this question about like when does your metabolism start to slow. You're going to be more apt to gain in your problem areas. Women, when you are premenopausal or during menopause, it might be harder for you to gain or lose weight. A lot of times it's harder for people to lose weight during their menopause phase in life. But just to go back to the body types, there's the mesomorph. These people are naturally muscular. They typically are a moderate frame with wider shoulders and a narrow waist, with stronger arms and legs and a modest amount of fat. So they are genetically predisposed to have muscle. So these people, in a couple weeks or maybe a month, they're lifting in the gym and they're noticing that their lean muscle mass is starting to build quicker than someone who, for example, is an ectomorph. So an ectomorph, they're generally thin and lean. They tend to have slender waists, narrow hips and shoulders, and smaller joints, and long arms and legs. They're the ones that are considered to be the lankier body types of people. They normally are predisposed to have a faster metabolism naturally, and they find it easier to lose or gain weight. Actually, it's going to be harder for them to gain weight, but losing weight will be easier for them as well. They often find themselves hungry throughout the day, but they don't put on weight easily. And then our last group is endomorph. They tend to be medium to large frame bone structure with more fat than the other types. Women that are endomorphs tend to be more curvaceous or full figured, and men tend to be considered a little bit more stocky or doughy or round. They have narrower shoulders and wider hips. So if you think of like the pear shape in women, that is typically going to be more of an endomorph. And they find it more challenging to lose weight, and they typically tend to have more fat gain like in their midsection. And then just to kind of add on, a lot of times mesomorphs are going to have more fat in their lower body. So one of the things that I like to tell people, if you are an endomorph and you carry weight more in your midsection, you of course are at higher risk for heart disease, or diabetes or heart related issues. Of course, that's not the case for everyone. And I think also looking back at family history, which is why I decided to go into the natural route, because it encompasses the full person. So it's not just what are you facing right now, what medicine can we give you to fix the problem or fix the symptom. It gets more to the root of the issue. So looking back at family history, looking at where you gain weight, all of this, these are determining factors that also affect your metabolism. And of course, the more muscle that you have in your body, the better, because you're going to be able to burn more fat, and you're just going to stay more of like a fat burning machine even at rest. So it's a good thing. I know a lot of women think, I don't want to lift weights, I don't want to get stocky and bulky or whatever. For one, it depends on your body type. And us as women, we would have to be eating a lot of protein, drinking a lot of Arbonne protein shakes, or whey that's going to bloat you and all of that. And that's the only the way that you're really going to get bulky like that. And a lot of women that go down that road, I mean, they're taking steroids and all kinds of stuff anyways. But that's a whole nother subject. All right, so my next question, what is the thyroid and what does it do for the rest of the body? So whenever I talk about the thyroid, I like to also mention the adrenal glands and so the thyroid and your adrenal glands are all a part of your lymphatic system. So your thyroid works in tandem with your adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands are right above your kidney, so in your back. They can handle a small amount of stress as well. So when you encounter stress, you release cortisol. That also enhances your various body functions as well. So cortisol is not always a bad thing, but too much of anything is not good for you, right? So the thyroid, as I mentioned, is a part of the endocrine system, and basically it produces a hormone that coordinates with your other bodily functions. One common disorder that I have read about a lot and see is Hashimoto's, which is an adrenal thyroid issue. So basically, to kind of explain your adrenal glands in a nutshell, you hear the phrases fight or flight, but we often leave out freeze. Our adrenal glands are basically responsible for that. So if you think about, I heard someone use this example of the antelope out in the wilderness, and they can sense or they hear that, a lion or tiger or something is coming to attack. Well, they have three options. They can fight, which they're not going to win. They can flight, they can run away, which they often do, or they can freeze. Initially, they freeze, then they run. But once they find safety, or if they're not caught, their adrenal glands rebalance. For us as humans, a lot of times, if you have been predisposed to stress, maybe as a child, maybe you had a hard upbringing, maybe you have a really stressful job, maybe both of those factors are impacting you. A lot of times, our adrenal gland is working overtime. So we're not really giving ourselves and our body a time to recoup, which wreaks havoc on your thyroid system or your endocrine system. So just be mindful of stress, your state of stress. Maybe consider talking to your doctor about getting some type of stress test if you're having some type of negative results in your daily life. Lots of headaches, lots of tension in your neck, and all of that. All of these things are intertwined. Our body is not segmented, and it's not compartmentalized as we think or as we have been taught in the past. It's all interconnected, and one system affects the next. So I just want you all to consider that. Okay, next question. Can caffeine, and I'm sorry, my shirt is like kind of big and I was trying to pin it earlier so that it would stay in place, but it's not wanting to. Okay, can caffeine be consumed safely? Yes, but I always recommend to watch your intake and of course consult with your doctor. Oh, this fizz stick that I mentioned, which I'm going to take a sip. I used to be a coffee addict. I'm not talking bad about coffee, so for those that will watch the replay or whatever, I'm not a hater. I loved coffee, and I honestly used to call myself a coffee snob. I have like an amazing coffee and espresso maker and like foam little machine and everything that I don't even use now. But you just want to watch your caffeine intake because it can have negative effects on your health. And I love Arbonne's fizz sticks because they're plant-based. They only have 55 milligrams as opposed to 95 milligrams of caffeine in one serving. And coffee or caffeine, depending on what form, because I'm getting into coffee, which we're talking about caffeine, but coffee is acidic, which can throw off your gut microbiome or your gut health. So you want to be mindful of that as well. For those that are pregnant, I would not recommend to drink lots of caffeine or any caffeine at all. But of course, consult with your doctor, your OBGYN. I know everyone has their own opinion on that. But just from what I have learned in school, from my own research, of course, I have not had any kids yet, but just from what I know, it's good to refrain from it if you can. Okay. Can drastic quick weight loss have a negative effect on my health? I'm a believer in the Bible, and it says basically anything that comes quick, it's not going to stick around. So, with that being said, that applies to our health as well. A lot of people want this quick, I want to lose 7 pounds, 10 pounds in a week or in a month, or 20 pounds in a month, 30 pounds in a month. And of course, depending on your weight when you're starting, your baseline is it's a whole nother story. If you are morbidly obese and you have like 300 pounds to lose, for example, of course you could lose 30 pounds in a month and that's not going to affect you. But if someone is, I don't know, 150 and 5'5", and you're trying to lose 30 pounds in a month, that's crazy. So yes, I am a huge believer in this being a journey and not a sprint. So calm down, love yourself where you are. Take some time to determine small steps that you can change or that you can make in your lifestyle that are going to be sustainable. That's one reason why I love Arbonne's 30 Days to Healthy Living. I said I wasn't going to talk about Arbonne too much, but it's been amazing for me and every person that I've coached through, and I'm coaching 3 more people through the program right now. It was a great way for me to lose some weight, learn how to keep it off, and maintain my eating habits and everything for the rest of my life. And truly learn what serves me. So in this process that you might be wanting to go through, try to determine what food allergies you have. If something's giving you brain fog or something's giving you the itis, that's not supposed to happen. If something is cramping you or bloating you, make note of these things so that you won't continue to consume them, because ultimately your body is trying to tell you something. So if it takes a little longer, trust me, it's worth it. All right, next question. Doesn't matter how often you eat fish. I would recommend it maybe once or twice a week. You want to get good quality fish. I have people in my family that are pescatarians, which means that they only eat fish or seafood. So it's totally safe to eat seafood every single day, but just be mindful of the quality of the food. Get wild caught salmon as opposed to farm raised, for example, or maybe get some fresh cod. And let me think of another. There are several other good ahi tuna. There's some good quality meat out there, and fish if you prefer that. How does the body react to consumed sugar? This is a huge one. So sugar is honestly hard to avoid because it's in pretty much everything. But sugar acts like a drug to us and to our brain because our brain doesn't know the difference. But in scientific terms, basically when we ingest sugar, enzymes in our small intestines break it down into glucose. And this glucose is then released into the bloodstream, where it's transported to tissue cells and our muscles and our organs to be later converted into energy. Okay, so you do need sugar, but you want good sugars. So sugars from fruits, just naturally derived. Maple syrup is great. The stevia, monk fruit. Of course, all these things are processed, but they are not going to spike your insulin levels like crazy and all over the place and cause negative long-term effects, okay? Another question, how is lactose intolerance tested or treated? Sorry. How is lactose intolerance treated? Okay, so a lot of people have dairy allergies, and lactose is I believe it's a dairy protein or sugar. It's a dairy sugar because OS, that's a keyword for sugar is OS. If you see anything ending in OSC, so glucose, lactose, dextrose. Dextrose, I believe, is derived from corn. It's a corn sugar, which you want to avoid like the plague. But there are people that can't digest lactose. So like they eat ice cream and maybe, honestly, it might give them diarrhea, or maybe it gives them some constipation or bloating or just some type of discomfort in their lower abdomen a lot of the times, or cramping. That means they're lactose intolerant, you hear. And I believe that just based on my research, number one, breast milk or mother's milk was what we needed as children. And then as you get older, of course, you don't need those things from your mom because you're getting, hopefully, the nutrients from your food and some supplementation. But 60% of, if you go all the way back to infants, they have allergies to milk because ultimately milk was not created for us. I'm not saying don't eat cheese. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I don't think I had any this weekend, but last weekend I ate cheese. Okay. I try to get, of course, the good quality stuff, organic, but there's been lots of with pasteurization with the whole process and pasteurization of milk basically. I believe the government started regulating this. So in some states, you can't even get what's now known as raw milk. There's a lot of dairy farmers in various states. I know in Kentucky it's legal. I believe in New York it's not. So just depending on what your state regulations are, of course, check that out. And of course, try it at your own risk. I don't drink raw milk. I just know of it has a lot of vitamins and it's rich in fat, and that's good for us. But when milk is pasteurized, basically what happens is the milk is heated and heated and heated and heated, and it to kill the bacteria from the milk. But we have since found that a lot of that just doesn't exist. But that kind of gets all into food advocacy, which I'm very passionate about, but I don't want to get into that right now. So a lot of people have developed milk allergies, as opposed to way back in the day when people drink the milk straight from the cow and they didn't have any problems. So yes, I would just say, honestly, if you have a lactose allergy, there are ways to slowly bring dairy back into your diet so that you can basically create an immunity to it, to that negative reaction. And on the flip side, if you never eat any dairy, you could create an allergy because of your body not knowing how to handle it when you consume these products. So just be mindful of that. And the way that I look at it is, everything in moderation. I'm not a huge advocate for dairy. There's too many good, viable sources now and products that we can use that don't include dairy, but that were without the fillers that are nut based. So maybe you want yogurt, but regular yogurt gives you discomfort. If you're going to go for regular yogurt, I would recommend Greek organic yogurt. There's lots of good brands out there. I'm a fan of Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's of course has their own brand that's delicious. And there's some other great brands out there. But if you do not want to consume the dairy, or maybe you have an allergy, I would just recommend maybe an almond based yogurt, a coconut based yogurt. But with coconut, you want to make sure you steer clear from an ingredient called carrageenan. It's not good. Trust me, it is I believe a preservative, but it can cause GI problems and stomach problems long term. So just watch out, read your food labels. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. I'd love to help you. But there is that. Okay, what are some symptoms or signs that a person is getting enough vitamin D, is not getting enough vitamin D, and how is vitamin D deficiency treated? So, some symptoms that you are not getting enough vitamin D. Maybe you're getting sick a lot. You're often infected. You're getting infections. You have a lot of fatigue and tiredness, like extreme. You're feeling extremely tired for many reasons. Maybe you have bone and back pain. Depression sometimes can also be a symptom. Impaired wound healing, bone loss, so like your bone mass loss, hair loss, muscle pain. Of course, you're going to want to go to your doctor. A blood test, an extensive blood test should be able to identify that you are low in vitamin D. And ways that you can treat this is by taking either a prescribed vitamin D3, because a doctor would be able to prescribe you a higher dosage, or you can just get over-the-counter vitamin D3. They have it everywhere. The Vitamin Shop, there's lots of good places out there that have it. But of course, as I always like to mention, you want to watch those ingredients because you don't want something with a bunch of fillers. Okay, so just be mindful of that. And then with any type of supplement, like for example with turmeric, if you add pepper, your body's going to be able to absorb it better. With vitamin D3, it's going to be absorbed better with a source of full fat. So maybe think about, after you take your pill, eating some avocado with your dinner, or maybe using a good oil, a good olive oil, or consuming some nuts and seeds, or a full fat organic dairy product, or maybe even eggs. These are all good ways to make sure that your body is absorbing those supplements, because if not, it's pointless. All right, and then I just have a couple more questions. How can diet affect arthritis? Okay. Diet can affect everything, any type of ailment in our bodies. So let's say someone does have arthritis. Most likely it is, due to inflammation, or inflammation is a byproduct of the arthritis. And you want to then, of course, cut out inflammatory foods. Okay. So you want to make sure you avoid sugar, cut out processed foods. As I mentioned earlier, anything with the derivative, any derivative of sugar, or it ends in an ose, you want to do that because sugar is sneaky. That's what I always recommend. And I also would recommend just take some omega 3s, because those good fats are going to help your joints as well. Okay. What are empty calories? Empty calories are calories that are not nutrient rich. So, the Diet Cokes, fast food, white grains, so white breads, white pastas, white breads. Those are just a couple things that I can think of off the top of my head. In one of my books that I'm reading for school, the author calls it make believe food. So think about it like that. If this is a make believe, this is a made up food. This is not something that comes from the ground, comes from a vine, comes from a tree, or is wandering on the ground. Then oftentimes it is a make believe food, and those are completely empty calories. I think after I personally did 75 hard, before I did it, I honestly had a hard time with consistently consuming the right foods. But I got to this phase, and I remember people always ask me, it was day 40. It was day 40 that something clicked in my mind, that helped me to no longer desire these foods. So if that is your struggle, I just pray that that happens for you. But ultimately, just think about it. Think about it. Everything that you consume, is this helping my health, or is this hurting my health long term? Because ultimately, it does not matter what we are predisposed to. Our genetics don't determine our life. Ultimately, they are somewhat of the blueprint, but it can be changed. So just remember that every nutrition choice that you make is either positively or negatively affecting you in the long term. Okay. What are some health benefits of eating fish? Okay. Omega 3s, omega 6s, of course, in a good salmon. Most fish in general is filled with omega 3 fatty acids that we cannot get from our typical diet, especially if you are a vegan or vegetarian. A good option for a vegan or a vegetarian that does not eat fish is to supplement with an omega 3 that's vegan or consume seaweed, organic seaweed, because it includes also vitamins D, B2 or riboflavin. It's rich in calcium, phosphorus, and a great source of minerals such as iron, zinc, iodine, magnesium, and potassium, all of which are great things also for someone that might be diabetic, because of the lack of magnesium and potassium in our body, or in your body. So, as I mentioned, you want a good quality fish. You want something ideally that is wild caught, that's not farm raised. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times on these conventional farms, they are feeding these fish soy and corn, which are like the two worst things. And they're just being bred in that like their entire lifespan. So I recommend wild caught. Okay, another big question: what happens to the body when caffeine is consumed? Okay, so first and ultimately, your brain and nervous system are affected the most, but caffeine affects every system. So I'm just going to go through really quick and kind of explain how it affects the entire body. So for your brain and nervous system, caffeine acts on the central nervous system as a stimulant. When it reaches your brain, basically you become more alert. Um, it increases the amount of acid in your stomach. So that can, for you, maybe you have heartburn, or maybe you have an upset stomach a lot after you drink your coffee. Maybe you notice that, or maybe several hours later, or maybe you drink it once and then for several days you have stomach aches. That could be the cause. In our digestive and excretory system, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's absorbed in our stomach, and it reaches its highest levels in our bloodstream within an hour or so. In our circulatory and respiratory system, it makes our blood pressure go up for a short time. So if you do have hypertension, high blood pressure, irregular heart rhythms, or anything like that, I would stay away from caffeine. Definitely consult with your doctor. For our skeletal and muscular system, it may interfere with the absorption or metabolism of calcium, depending on how much caffeine you are consuming on a regular basis. It has also been said that it can contribute long term to osteoporosis or bone thinning. and may also cause muscle twitching or muscle aches. So, like I said, if you're having these things, consult with your doctor. You might want to maybe dial it back a little bit on the caffeine. And then, of course, for your reproductive system, it does travel into your bloodstream. And if you are pregnant, it will cross into the placenta and it will act as a stimulant to your baby's heart and metabolism. Um, so, it's also been known apparently to cause fetal growth decrease and an increase in miscarriage. So if those are of concern to you, I would recommend maybe switching to something that is plant-based like this. It's going to give you your caffeine fix, but it's not going to disrupt your gut. It's not going to disrupt you as a pregnant person. But of course, consult with your doctor. And then I have a few more questions, and then we will go. What is a safe rate for me to lose weight? As I mentioned, this depends, but for the average person that maybe is looking to lose about 10 to 20 pounds, 10 to 15, 20 pounds or so, I would say 1 to 2 pounds a week and no more. Because at that rate, if you're losing more than 2 pounds a week and you're at a moderate weight as a baseline or as your starting point, then it's going to be too hard to maintain, because you're going to, like, for example, you might hear sometimes where maybe some personal trainers say, if you're already doing an hour of cardio in the gym consistently, but you want to lose weight, then you're going to have to do 2 hours. It works the same way. You're just going to have to expend more and more energy or consume way less food. But the tricky thing is that people don't understand. They think if I eat 1,200 calories a day and I work out for an hour, then the weight's going to drop off. But that's not always the case, because 1,200 calories may not be enough food for your body, because your body's baseline might be 1,800. So if you're not consuming a set amount of calories, then going into a deficit, you're not going to lose weight. Your body's going to hold on to the fat because it thinks you're in starvation mode, and we don't want that. And then it's going to slow down your metabolism. So not eating is not the answer. Cutting your carbs is not the answer. Your body needs those macronutrients. It needs protein, carbs, and fat, and micronutrients, so all those minerals and vitamins, to be healthy and to do what it is supposed to do, okay? What, you know what? And I think those are all the questions that I have for today, because some of these I've already answered. Oh, here's the last one. Are there certain ages at which a body's metabolism slows down? And yes, I basically answered that in the beginning. I believe that they say at the age 30 is when your metabolism makes a significant dip. But that doesn't account for someone who has a healthy diet and exercises. So, of course, it's inevitable, like when women go into menopause, and then there's like a male version of that, which I'm trying to think of what it's called. I can't remember the male version, but where men's testosterone levels start to decline. Your metabolism is going to be affected. If you have a sedentary job, or you sit all day long, a regular desk job, you're not active, you don't work out consistently, maybe you work out 1 day a week, I would suggest maybe going to 3 days a week. Of course, consult with your doctor. 30 minutes on the elliptical, 30-minute walk around your neighborhood. Your dog will love you. Maybe go to the gym and do a couple classes during the week. Exercise, of course, muscle gain. Don't be scared of that. Lean muscles. You can use small weights, ladies, if you want to start out there. Having more muscle in your body is also going to help speed up your metabolism and get you into fat burning mode. But yes, there are different times in our life where our metabolism slows. I know for me, and I see it all the time with my friends. We go to high school, maybe you played sports, maybe you were like a superb athlete, maybe you even played in college, or if you didn't, like me, maybe you worked out consistently and you were very active because you're walking around campus all the time and all of that. But then when you graduate, you start to see your metabolism not only go down, but your eating habits maybe change, your activity level changes, and you start to gain weight. That is sometimes inevitable, but it is possible to avoid that if you continue your exercise and maintain a healthy, nutritious diet and reward yourself. I hate saying cheat days, cheat meals. I feel like it puts too much of the wrong emphasis on food. It puts the wrong ideology around food and around diet. Even the word diet is just your way of eating. It's not cutting back, or I can't have this, I can't have that. Be mindful of what you're consuming. Don't go overboard, because if you withhold too much from yourself, one day you're gonna just go out and crazy and eat everything. So when you're having cravings, find healthier alternatives. Find your favorite things that you love to eat out, cook those at home. I remember the first time that I did Arban's 30 Days of Healthy Living, that's what I did. I was craving fried chicken. I was craving all these different things. I got an air fryer. I cooked it without all the breading. I found and made up my own recipes for like Chipotle bowls and Qdoba bowls and different things. And I consumed my meals that I love so much at home, but I knew what was in them. So I just recommend that for you. And of course, if you have any questions at all about anything, I would love to help you. Of course, like I mentioned, I'm not a doctor, naturopathic doctor, herbalist, or anything like that yet. I'm still studying, but I want to start helping people now while I can. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for those that'll watch the replay. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to send me a message here on Instagram at Victoria L. Staton, to my email address, thefiteventlady@gmail.com, or on Facebook. You can find my page, Victoria L. Staton. And I think that's it. So y'all have a great Monday. Thank you for joining in for Monday's Muse, your weekly wellness dose. I'll be next week, and we have some great interviews lined up. Oh, and if you have recommendations for anybody, maybe a trainer, someone in the wellness sphere, let me know. I would love to interview them. I really enjoy this. Okay, y'all. Have a good one. Talk to you later. Bye.